Hi guys! So today's video is going to be my May wrap-up, and May is kind of a weird month for me because all of my students are getting out of school and my schedule is completely changing as a result. Anyway, this month has just felt like two completely separate months, so when I grabbed up all the books that I read from this month, I was really surprised because there were books that I kind of forgot that I had read in May. But anyway, starting with the first book from the month, that would be Long May She Reign by Rhiannon Thomas. The premise of this book is that the main character is 23rd in line for the throne. She at no point thinks that she'll ever have to rule, nor does she want to, but there's an event where essentially all of the royalty is gathered together and they all get poisoned and die, and then now Freya is her name. Now Freya is the queen. I ended up buddy reading this book with someone and it was so fun because you don't know who poisoned everyone and it's almost a little bit of a mystery. You're trying to figure out who done it. And buddy reading it was fun because it's like, who the heck did it? Was it her friend? Was it like the advisor guy? Was it her dad? I'm gonna do a full in-depth book review for this soon because I really enjoyed it. Also, this cover is super pretty. Okay, so next up, I did end up reading another Witcher book. This isn't the one I read, this is just the one I grabbed. But I'm always talking about Witcher on my channel. I'm always telling you guys how awesome it is and how much I love it. I think most of you are aware now of how obsessed I am with it. I plan to do a full in-depth series review of Witcher sometime in June because I just think that that series does not get talked about pretty much at all in book 2. It's amazing. The lore of it is amazing. The characters are amazing. The writing style is amazing. Everything about it. It's so good, and I think it's about time that I give the series the credit it's due so that maybe hopefully you guys can get a little bit more information on it. The next book I read, or actually just finished last night, is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. I took forever to actually start getting into this story. I think it starts off with a lot of action, and for me personally, I know a lot of people, a lot of writers especially, feel like your book has to start off with a bang or people aren't going to be interested in it, but for me personally, I find that if a story starts off with an action scene, I don't care. I haven't had time to develop any kind of a feeling towards the characters or towards the people that they're fighting against or the thing they're fighting against. So when a story starts off with a lot of action, to me it just feels kind of chaotic and jarring. It's not that I'm confused, it's just that I have no emotional attachment to anything, and that's what I felt like happened with this book. I didn't really get invested in it until like 100 and something pages in, and then I started to care. It follows these two girls who are essentially best friends. They're called Thread Sisters, and the magic system is kind of cool. There are, not kind of cool, it's really cool. There are witches, and male or female, and they all have different kinds of powers and different levels of power. The main two girls, one is a Truth Witch, as the name implies, and she is incredibly valuable because she has the ability to determine when people are telling the truth and when people are lying. Next up in a book I know a lot of you are going to be super happy because I took your advice and I read it, and that would be Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I have to admit that because so many people have hyped this book up and told me that I need to read it, I was a little frustrated with the book for a good while because it was good. The pacing though was not what I expected. When it first starts, like a lot of books do, you have to get introduced to all the characters, and it's a multiple point of view story, so you have to get introduced to all the characters. But after everybody was formally introduced, I then was expecting the book to move forward, and instead we kind of backtracked because we explored the characters' pasts. And when we're referring to pacing, for me, that made it feel really slow. I kept thinking that this book was going to be a page turner, but I just kept getting shown the characters' pasts, and so I was thinking, when is stuff going to start happening? When it finally did pick up, it was really great, and it was great the whole time. I just was surprised because I was expecting to be like reading this in one day. Overall, I ended up really liking this book. I know some of you have told me because I mentioned it in my June TBR. Some of you have said Crooked Kingdom is even better, and you felt similar things for Six of Crows, so I'm gonna take your guys' word for it, and I loved this, but I have a feeling I'm gonna love Crooked Kingdom even more. Next up, I have some comic books to talk about, which I'm so excited because that bookie and I hosted a comic book readathon on the last Sunday of the month, and it was so fun because I'd never read comic books before and I keep wanting to get into them. So I finally picked them up, and as per my husband's request, the first ones I read were the Vision comics by Tom King. My husband really loves these. They are not at all, though, what you would expect from a superhero main character. This is Vision from the Avengers, but it is not Vision going out and saving the world. It's Vision wanting to start a family and have love in his life, basically. The next comic book that I read and I absolutely loved so much, if you guys are wanting to read comics or you like comics, you have to pick this up, and that would be Fables by Bill Willingham. Fables follows essentially every single fairy tale character that you can think of, the main two being Bigby from Big Bad Wolf and Snow from Snow White, but it is a story meant for adults, so however you traditionally think of these characters, usually from, you know, like Disney movies and stuff, is completely turned upside down. I'm going to be reading more of these in June. I love the video game Wolf Among Us that is a prequel to this, and apparently Bill Willingham loves it also, and he considers it canon to the series. So if you guys have played that before, that's where it comes from, but it does precede these, so you're not going to be spoiled by anything. These come after. Also, I realized, I'm pretty sure I misspoke big time earlier. Truth Witch is written by Susan Dennard. I think I said Victoria Aveyard. But that's because I read Glass Sword this month, which is by Victoria Aveyard, and this is the second book in the Red Queen series. I am enjoying this series a lot. I think the second one is drastically different from the first, which I really appreciate. It's kind of like when a band has a first album that you like, and then they have a second album and it's way different, but you like it too. I like that the author was able to create completely different feelings and events for the two books. It follows the story of a girl who is supposed to be a red-blooded person, which means that she shouldn't have any powers, and she's part of the lower class of people, and then there are silver bloods, which are people with silver blood, and they have power, and they're the ruling class. I really like this series. I do think it is difficult to not get frustrated sometimes with it because it is told in first person, and the main character is a flawed character, but you're in her head, so you're constantly hearing her emotions that sometimes you feel are unjustified, or you think she's overreacting to things or not reacting enough to things. I'm really excited to see what happens next because this one completely leaves you hanging. The last book that I read, and I almost didn't include in this wrap-up, but I figure I might finish it later today, and that would be A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I actually started this book at the beginning of the month, and I got really far pretty fast, and then all of a sudden, and it was in an exciting, like, intense part, I just had to stop. I don't really know what it was. Like I said, it was a really exciting moment, but I actually think I liked the first one more, which is totally different from basically anyone else, but I thought the first one could have served really well on its own as a standalone book. And then this one, I have no problem with it being a sequel. I just felt like there were things that happened in the first book that were thrown aside and disregarded, and they didn't need to be. I don't know, part of me kind of wishes like the first book was its own book, and then this, and I haven't read obviously the next one, but this and the next one could have been like a duology and with a different character. Anyway, as you guys can probably tell from the title of this video, I have a really exciting announcement for you guys, and that is that my hubby, who I'm constantly like mentioning a little bit and talking about how much I love him and stuff, he is going to be starting his own booktube channel. He and I both love to read, but we read pretty different stuff. He's like the comic book guy, and I'm like the regular books girl. I feel kind of bad saying that, but it's so fun because we read so many different things, and we're constantly having conversations, but we're always like, well, are you gonna read this? And it's like, yeah, I'll probably read that someday, and then we can't like spoil anything for each other. I love getting to talk to him about books, and I know that you guys will get to know him and love him too. As soon as his first video is up, I will link it in the description bar down below, as well as probably like my end screen videos that I put over here. Yeah, that's, how do I not know by now? I say it at the end of every video. But anyway, if you guys liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the little bell icon so you guys get notified when I post new videos, and check out some of my videos and maybe some of my hubby's videos right over here. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to start my June TBR after reading so many great books this last month, and I will see you guys later. Bye!